I started way
Understood.
back in the woo world. And so I started with being a professional intuitive and astrologer. And I made a little bit of a choice at one point that people laugh when I tell them, because I thought, oh, I'm going to add a very, excuse me, practical side to things. Yeah, I use all my work practically, but I thought I needed like just that one thing to say is practical. And so I dove into hypnosis. That was my practical.
Mm.
Side. I was getting that done.
Join us at the inaugural Ascend Summit, where empowerment and healing become part of your new reality. Presented by You Are Not Your Trauma podcast, this summit is your gateway to growth, connection, and discovering your true potential. And it's all happening June 28th and 29th in Dallas, Texas. Don't miss your chance to be a part of something life-changing. Early bird tickets are on sale now. Secure your spot today by going to ascend.youarenotyourtrauma.com.
Welcome to the You Are Not Your Trauma podcast, a show that reminds you that you are not alone, your experiences matter, and you are not defined by what you've been through. Each week, you will hear from the host and invited guests who have either personal or professional experience with trauma. They will share their stories and strategies for overcoming past wounds and beginning the journey toward healing and wholeness. Now, here's your host, a gifted speaker, author, coach, and entrepreneur, Harriet M. Harris.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of You Are Not Your Trauma, the podcast that brings hope, healing, and inspiration to those who've experienced life's most challenging moments. It's here in this space that we peel back the layers of trauma, not just to expose it, but to understand and overcome it. I'm your host, Harriet M. Harris, and I am so glad that you're here today. I hope that this show is an important part of your healing journey. Now, today we're diving deep into a mindset that many of us may have felt or thought at some point in our lives. If something bad is going to happen, it's going to happen to me. Now, I've personally been there, feeling like a magnet for misfortune until I realized that I was manifesting negativity into my reality. What truly lies beneath this belief is what we will explore today. So, in this episode, we're going to unravel the trauma loop, a cycle that can keep us locked in negative thought patterns and behaviors. We'll consider its roots, identify some common signs, and most importantly, discuss strategies to break free. Now, joining us today is Laura Ordile, a mindset mentor, master hypnotist, and professional intuitive and astrologer. Got that all messed up. With her unique blend of practical skills and intuitive insights, Laura empowers individuals to transform their mindset and consequently live their lives. Welcome, Laura, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Laura, can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
You bet. Yeah, it is a mouthful. I probably need to squish that down, but I kind of have a couple different areas. I started way
Understood.
back in the woo world, and so I started with being a professional intuitive and astrologer. And I made a little bit of a choice at one point that people laugh when I tell them, because I thought, oh, I'm going to add a very, excuse me, practical side to things. Yeah, I use all my work practically, but I thought I needed like just that one thing to say is practical. And so I dove into hypnosis. That was my practical
Mm,
side. I was getting that done. And so with that, I went back and forth with what do I call myself? Am I a coach? Am I a success coach? What kind of coach? Or, trauma
right.
coach? What do we do? And I
Mm-hmm.
decided to be a mentor because a mentor is someone who has been through what you've been through in some way, shape, or form and found a better way to go forward. And
Mm,
hopefully they walk with you and show you that better way. And that's what I try to do in helping people to kind of get out of their own way when they're stuck,
Yeah.
feeling like I can't make progress. I can't get to the next level.
Yes.
Or even when they're at the bottom and they're just like, I can't get out of bed. I
Yes.
cannot function. Those are the people that I want to help them find the little secret path to feeling better and being in a better way. And
I love
that's
it.
me.
That's great. I love it. I love everything about what you just shared. So, but before we dive into our conversation, Laura, let's take a very quick commercial break. So, for all of our listeners, stay with us. We will be right back.
Imagine having resources at your fingertips that support you through every step of your healing journey. That's exactly what you'll get with the You Are Not Your Trauma app. Access guided meditations to find your peace, read inspiring stories that resonate with your experiences, and join a community that truly understands. But that's not all. Dive into the Healing Chronicles and participate in community challenges. It's more than an app. It's a companion on your journey of self-discovery and healing. Download the You Are Not Your Trauma app today and join a community where your story matters and your healing journey is honored. Find us on the App Store and Google Play Store. Your journey to healing starts now.
Okay, we are back. Now, Laura, again, it's a pleasure to have you here today. So let's jump right in. Can you explain the concept of a trauma loop and its impact on someone's life?
Well, different people kind of describe a trauma loop as different things, but one
Hmm.
way that I tend to use that or explain that is that oftentimes in life, from the very time we're tiny, the foundation is built for our subconscious. And I say
Hmm.
it's a lot like a hard drive is put into place, and all of that foundational programming is put in there from a little time before you're born to about 7 years old.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have that to go forward with. Everything, more files are added, all this stuff is added throughout life, but we have that foundation. And so we operate from that throughout
Mhm.
our life. When we have things that come up that go against that foundational information, you're going to have a conflict. That's why you get stuck. That's why you can't move forward, because your subconscious is trying to keep you safe and moving in a direction that it wants you to live and be okay. Sometimes that's uncomfortable. That can mean pain or angst or things that we don't want. But it's doing its job as far as it's concerned. Also, what happens is sometime back in life, you could be a year old and something happens in your life, maybe a big argument between your parents.
Hmm.
Maybe not such a big deal now as an older person, but when you're one, that's pretty traumatic. That's a pretty
Yeah.
traumatic situation. Anchors in, and what happens is your subconscious comes out and creates this little tiny armored version of you that says, I've got you, I'm going to protect you. And it comes out and it deals with that particular instance in that time. And then you move forward and keep going in life. And what happens sometimes, you might have another one that happens at 7 years old. Maybe you get bullied in
Hmm.
school, another version's created, and on and on. So we have all these little versions of ourselves along our timeline of our life. Well, some of those little versions of us get caught up in that trauma loop, in the loop
Mm.
being in that trauma, stuck, basically. It's reliving that, reliving that, reliving that. And that's happening in our subconscious. So you have this
Yeah.
little tiny fearful version of you, or angry, or whatever that particular instance
Right.
was, that's living in that. And can you imagine just being in that constant state of
Mm.
difficulty? So
Yeah.
these two things can happen there. One thing is at that moment, something is established inside of you, flight, freeze. I can't think.
Fight,
Flight,
flight, or
freeze.
freeze.
Thank you. That one. I got stuck. Uh,
Gotcha.
one of those can kick in. And
Hmm.
maybe from that point on, that's what happens. And so maybe it's flight. And
Mm.
so you deal with anxiety from that little tiny moment forward in your life. You're
Yeah.
going to have that anxiety that shows up, maybe with no rhyme or reason, because you don't know that that little person is going through that
Yeah.
difficulty, but it knows, and it might sense something that is an argument from way over here that doesn't, you don't
Mhm.
even phase it, doesn't hear, you don't hear it. Your subconscious did. And it goes into panic mode and goes, oh no. And so kicks up your anxiety, kicks up what's going on.
Mm.
And you have to deal with that. The other thing
Yeah.
that can happen is you have those phases throughout life, and you're okay, and you're okay, and you're okay, and you're okay. And then all of a sudden, and you might not even know why, again, your subconscious picked up on something,
Mhm.
or a life event happens where that's it, that's the switch. And now, oh my gosh, now everything is wrong. Now all of the symptoms have kicked in. You have anger, you have frustration, you have fear. It's it's cracked. You know, all of this time, it's like a walnut
Mhm.
that's been having little bricks laid on it. And now it's
Mm.
reached the point where that last one has collapsed it in, and now everything is coming out. It happens a lot when you talk to people who have PTSD, CPTSD, and it's like they can't even tell you. And especially someone talking to them, they'll be like, they were
Mhm.
fine a month ago, a year ago, everything was fine. And
Yeah.
now there's anger, or they won't go outside, or they have panic attacks, something like that, because that last little bit took it over the edge. And now
Wow.
you're dealing with these little versions of yourself and your
Mhm.
subconscious that are upset and hurt and angry, and they need resolution, and maybe they need reintegration. And
Mm.
if you think, there's a couple different ways to kind of play that. One of them is if you have a puppy, for people that are dog lovers,
Mhm.
if you have a puppy, that puppy comes up to you and wants attention. Give me attention, give
Right.
me attention. If you don't give it attention, that puppy goes off and chews up your brand new shoes and pees on the carpet and
Oh,
does bad things,
okay.
right? That's what's happening. And if you give it attention, you're going to have this lifelong friend with you.
Right.
But it needs attention, and it's going to act up and in ways that are not going to make you happy,
Mhm.
with chronic fatigue, with migraines, with anxiety, with anger, with
Yeah.
IBS. It's going to bring all of those into your life.
Right.
And another way to look at it is to remember, again, we're in that hard drive, right? And but that's where those
Mhm.
little versions of us live, is in that subconscious, in that hard drive.
Right.
And if you think of like either that little puppy, or a little, think of that teenage version of you that got hurt,
Mm.
crazy, upset, mad, angry,
Yes.
hurt, and they're in your control center. They're in there where they can hit all the buttons to run all the things, to do whatever they want with your body, with your emotions, with your thoughts. And they're mad, and they want
Mm.
that attention. They want to be fixed. They don't want to be feeling the way they're feeling. They don't want to stay in that loop.
Exactly.
And so they're in charge, and they will take charge and do some of those really miserable things that you might be experiencing.
Wow. Wow. So, what are some common signs that someone might be stuck in a trauma loop, and how can they begin to recognize these patterns themselves? So, we have listeners that are tuned in and they may not even, know that they're in this trauma loop. What are your thoughts
Oh,
there?
absolutely right. A lot of people are in that and don't know it, because they might have one or two of the symptoms. And what's funny is when I
Mm-hmm.
start talking to people and going through like a little checklist, it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I have that. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Because you're
Yeah.
not recognizing the things that are really going on for you.
That's
And
true.
so let's say you have IBS. IBS is a really strong symptom from trauma. It is one
Really?
that says, oh yeah, it's actually most people that have IBS. I can't remember the stats. I was just looking at them the other day. I came across something, but a huge majority of them, they have IBS. They've had, whether they realize it or not, some version of trauma in their life. And when that's addressed, the IBS disappears.
Wow.
And and so that, if you have something like a chronic condition,
Mm-hmm.
or someone tells you You're just going to have to learn to live with it. You're going to have to find coping mechanisms. You're going to have to do this. That if you hear that, go investigate further. Go talk with
Wow.
someone like me or someone else, in the that is a hypnotist that can go and help you look a little deeper, because there's going to be something there. I would almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
I can't
Wow.
guarantee it, but I would almost guarantee it that there is going to be something there if you have a chronic anything,
Because the
because
body.
yeah, your body is telling you all along the way.
Yeah.
Migraines are a huge one, that comes in.
Mm,
Anxiety, super huge. And people all the
yes.
time are told, you're just going to have to manage, find your breath, breathe in a bag,
Mm-hmm.
calm yourself down, do this, but you don't have to manage. You do not. You can clear it. Absolutely, you can clear it. And if someone says, or if you feel too broken to be healed or fixed, absolutely, there is something, that trauma loop is going on for you. There is something there. You are never too broken to be fixed. You just are not. You just haven't got to the right person yet.
I like
And
that. I'm
I'm
glad
not
you
saying
said that.
I'm the only one, because people help people all the time in other
Right.
ways. There's lots of ways. But if you've tried some ways and they're not working, don't give up. Keep trying, because you will find the one that gets you there, because you want to be better. If you're
Right.
looking, you want to be better.
Yeah.
So keep looking, keep doing that. And don't let even, I just talked to someone the other day, and they went through some horrible experiences in earlier childhood. One of them resulting in a back surgery that
Wow.
later he was told it was actually the pain was all in his head, and it's like, what? But he ended up having later on too OCD. And he went to a doctor, and the doctor said, well, I can probably get you about 70% better. I can kind of get you there. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I don't want to be 70% better. I want to
Right.
be better. And he is, by the way, now better. He went through and discovered hypnosis, and through that, and
Wow.
some of his other things that he chose to do with just working on his own confidence and things like that, changing the mindset of things, he is clear. He has, and no more back pain, no
Wow.
OCD. He's actually helping people, treating people now, and making a difference in those lives of the people that we just talked about, that are told, well, you might have to live with some of this. And it's a little bit like, he also found, unfortunately, there are some great support systems out there. But
Mm-hmm.
on one of the groups, or a couple of the groups that he was in, like on social media, he
Mm-hmm.
found an interesting thing was happening, that was like the crabs in the bucket, where crab tries to get out and all the crabs start pulling them back in. Because he said, see people post, I'm doing better. I think this might be making a difference for me. This is changing things, what about whatever it was that they were
Mm-hmm.
doing. And people would jump on there and say, well, that's fine, but you have to know that you are going to have this for the rest of your life. This is something
Wow.
that you don't just get rid of. And they wouldn't let them have the win. They
Wow.
wouldn't. And he said, I just left. I
Yeah, it's
couldn't.
important to be able to pull away when you are uh surrounded by people that are trying to pull you back from when you're trying to get better or trying to come out, as you kind of mentioned, the crabs in the bucket. You're trying to get out and they're trying to pull you back. Maybe time to cut ties. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and
important.
unfortunately, because people don't understand sometimes things like PTSD or CPTSD, I see it all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Even any traumas that people have, even if they're not quote unquote labeled with that, you can
Right.
have anxiety, and it can be from trauma. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, you know, gosh, I lost my train of thought, but there are people that don't understand it, especially people around you. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is that oftentimes people don't know what's happening for you.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're in this lost, dark place, you don't know how to explain it. You're not
Yeah,
even
that's true.
understanding yourself. You
Yeah.
don't know why you just snapped at that person or got mad at the
Mm-hmm.
dog. or had the panic attack and couldn't go to the movies. You don't know. It's disruptive to everybody's life. And so
Right.
sometimes people, unfortunately, can feed in and say all the wrong things and do all the wrong things without understanding what's happening in that
That's true.
situation.
That's
And
true.
so, sometimes if you do see yourself doing some of those things, try to, it's so hard, but try to hear what maybe some other people are saying. And if it's like the other person is saying, I'm lost, I don't know how to help, I don't know what to do, you probably need to deal with something in your own self, and because I don't want it to get into the blame game of you're
Yeah,
always this way or that's always happening. There comes a point where that's can happen because sometimes two
absolutely.
get together. Um, but if you can find the point in the moment, and it usually happens before it gets to that, where someone you're with is saying, I don't understand. I don't know
Mm,
what's happening.
yeah.
You're different. Something's going on. You might say, it's not me. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that. But if there's an easy enough conversation in there and a true from someone that loves you, take a look
Yeah.
for a minute. Take a look. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong
Absolutely.
with having an injury inside of you. There's nothing wrong with, you're not going to blame somebody for having a broken bone or for having an accident and being,
Absolutely.
you're not going to
Yeah,
do that. It's the
that's
same
true.
thing. You just can't see those injuries that are going on and the pain that's spreading and the infection that's coming about because of some of that and what it's doing. And so remember that it's okay. It's okay to be hurt
Right.
because
It
you
is.
can be healed. You can be healed.
Absolutely. You said a couple of things that I wanted to kind of touch back on is you mentioned some of the chronic pain. You mentioned the person that had the back surgery and the back pain who no longer has it. And it really made me think of, the body keeps the score. It's a book. I'm not sure. A lot of
Right?
people have heard it. If a lot of people have mentioned it and I've started reading it. But a lot of people have mentioned on the show, and it's so true. Like I had no idea the impact until I started doing this podcast of how much our bodies um are impacted by the things that are going on inside of us. And when you kind of mentioned it as an injury on the inside, that makes so much more, it kind of a lot pulls it all together even more. And so what I find interesting is you kind of mentioned people who are ready, right? People who are ready. But then we come across the people who aren't because we kind of touched on that some people may not be aware. They may not be aware of the thing, or they may not, it may be locked in, that thing that happened at 1 or 7 or teenage me. We just started kind of acting or reacting this way. So I wanted to kind of touch on those people, kind of reach them because there may be someone who doesn't realize it, right? So how does the bad things always happen to me mindset develop, especially in individuals who have experienced trauma?
Well, they have that little part of themselves inside of them telling them, trying to protect them in whatever way,
Mm,
shape, or form. So it can't be their fault, or that's going to cause, more difficulty. And maybe that's something that came from, again, that foundational
hmm.
programming that was put into place where maybe you did hear that everything is someone else's fault. Maybe there was a family member
Yeah,
that was always pushing something off on someone else. And so that was a line of programming put into your mind. And so that's a natural way for you to go, is to push away some of the things that don't fall in line with, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm on track. I'm here.
yeah, yeah.
So it's going to kick that out and be like, well, it's not my fault. That's not my fault.
Mm,
And they do get trapped into, oh, poor me, because they're sad, they're hurt, they're angry at the world. They don't understand why this is happening to them again. Why am I hurting some more? Why am I losing again? Why and
hmm.
why? And because they again, you have probably a little bit of an immature version of you kicking in a lot to run the show. Think about your little tiny 3-year-old self or little person that you might be aware of, your child or something. They're not going to understand the whys
Yeah,
of what's
that's
going on.
true.
They understand the pain. They
Yeah,
understand
that's true.
that when they want their, toy or their candy bar or whatever it is, and you don't give it to them, frustrated and mad, and they're going to have a
Oh
fit.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what's happening. That's
Yeah.
that you have to remember, as I said, there's other little versions driving the
Mm-hmm.
bus, basically. They're in there driving the bus. And our
Absolutely.
subconscious, as that bus driver, tries to keep things going in the same direction. And that's another thing that if you notice, this is how, when I'm working a lot with business people, especially entrepreneurs and things, they
Mm-hmm.
will come up against like this invisible wall or ceiling or whatever you want to think about. And they're doing the things and they're going forward and they can't make progress. Something holds them back.
Right.
I'm doing, and that's that bus driver going in the same direction, going in,
Mm.
and you're like, I want to hang a left. Can we please go left? It's
Can we
like,
go
nope,
left?
nope, nope. That's not my directions. So you got to go in and reprogram the little GPS and say, ooh, right here we get to hang a left and it's going to be okay and it's going to be safe. Might be a little scary, but we have new directions now, so we can go that way. And that's the amazing thing that happens. Oftentimes people will freeze up or get overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and they it's like, I can't make a step because what if I make the wrong one, or
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm confused, and there's all this little stuff going on and
Mm-hmm.
you can't sort it out. That's
Yeah.
probably a little bit of a
Sure.
conflict going on because you're wanting to do something different. And yet you have this programming where maybe we need to go hit delete on a few of the files.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to upgrade and add some new programming so that it can be a wonderful thing going forward. Because hypnosis isn't just about clearing all the crap. It can really be about adding in some of the wonder, adding in
Mm.
confidence, adding in motivation, adding in
Oh,
all of
interesting.
that can be a part of that whole process. I love doing that part. It's wonderful.
I bet that sounds really interesting, and it sounds like it could be very beneficial, when someone is needing that and they aren't quite sure, because confidence takes courage. And if you are kind of stuck in this space of not believing in yourself and not believing that you can do it, um, it's definitely more difficult to have the courage to move forward with it. So
And
that's very interesting.
I actually love having the people that would come to me first because they know that they're just kind of like, I know I'm going to be moving into a new direction. I need the
Mm-hmm.
change. I'm going to be
Mm.
one up level. And they come to me and go, so I don't want anything in my way. I want everything cleared out of the way. I want to go quick, easy, effectively forward. And they
Wow.
work with me for that. And we do that. And that's like, oh, yes, that's awesome. Because
So,
we do overhaul and get rid of all of the stuff that could possibly hold them back. And we move forward.
so they come ahead of time
Yeah,
so that they are
before.
ready to move forward instead of starting the process and getting stuck and not being able to. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because they want to up their game. They know that they want to get to that next level in the next year.
Yeah.
And so they really want to have everything in order. They don't want to have that walnut crack if they have
Mm-hmm.
something come in that is going to be difficult. Because when you're trying to move forward, you might have some of
Right.
those things fall apart around you. You might have
Right.
something happen that really kind of is difficult, or a money situation or something like that. That's like, oof, and it comes down. Well, if it's that last little brick that's going to crack things, then everything kind of falls apart. And then you're dealing with, ooh, guess what? I now have chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, and I can't
Mm.
move forward now. What do I do? Instead of going
Mm.
to that point of having that and having to recover, which I'm not blaming anyone for saying you should have come to me first. You don't know
Right.
until
Right.
I just
Right.
love being able to, so those people that do know they want to make a big change, they're like, I really want to
Right.
open the door. And so we do that.
That's really cool, Laura. But so can you share with us what is the long-term effectiveness of the hypnosis, of helping them to get the confidence, the courage, whatever it is that they feel they need to up level?
Gosh, I haven't, I can say with my clients, it's done amazing and it's stuck. I mean, I haven't had anybody come
Okay.
back and say, "Ooh, it's not working anymore."
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and then I was thinking with other people, I was trying to think if anyone else has had issues, but most of the people, especially in the trauma area and in that,
Hmm.
they go forward as it's like night and day. They were in this dark place and now they're going forward in this light forever. Do they have to maybe learn how to redo a few things in life? Yeah,
Hmm.
probably, because they were dealing with it as a broken person, as that person
Right.
had all of these issues. And so
Right.
now it's like, oh, I can be in a relationship without anger. Wow. What do I say? How do I move
Right. Right.
that
Right.
conversation? And so it's a whole new version of them, but that
Hmm.
sticks. It doesn't go back because what happens is, especially when I do my work, and I know the people who do the same work that I do the same thing. There's a place in it where you open up the communication
Hmm.
with you and your subconscious, basically, so that if you do have those moments along the way, because you're still living, you're still gonna have a long life,
Right.
have trauma. You might have those, but you have the communication door open now. So nothing
Mm.
is hidden. Nothing is going to get stuck in that loop now. And you might experience difficulty in the moment. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. You might experience difficulty. We're human. We're going to have grief. We're going to have sadness. We're going to have anger. We're
Right.
going to have emotions. Our life is like a roller coaster. If we're moving
Hmm.
forward, we're meant to be experiencing something. And so it is going to be sometimes difficult, sometimes
Right.
wonderful. But what happens is you don't get stuck. You don't get
Mm.
stuck in wallowing in the anger or the depression or the anxiety. You are able to go, okay, this is not great. This is not wonderful. I don't like this. I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm whatever I am, upset, nervous, scared, but I'm going to be okay anyway. And when you have that realization right there,
Hmm.
I'm going to be okay. I'm scared a little bit, or I'm nervous, or I'm mad, but I'm going to be
Right.
okay. And then
So
you
this
can move
is
forward in it.
so this is kind of where you see the growth happening.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I like it.
That's like when you can get to that space. And I noticed it for myself at one point. Finally, it's like, oh, that feels different, because you
Ah.
centeredness that comes in, and you get okay, let's say you get a big bill, huge bill in the mail, or oh my gosh, the roof needs repair or something like that.
Mm.
And you go, oh, where you used to might start cascading down the road of how am I going to get the money? What's going to happen? I can't
Right.
do it. Having anxiety, I'm having panic attacks. What's going to happen? We're going to be homeless. Oh my goodness, right? Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
None of that's happened yet, but we've gone down this huge road of trauma and drama. And instead of that happening, you get the big bill, you go, oh, dang it, dang it.
Hmm.
You take that breath and go, all right, how am
Now
I going
what?
to work that out? How am I going to deal with that? What do I need to do now?
I
Oh my
love
goodness.
it. Yeah. It's interesting because I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and I was telling her, I was like, you know what? I can tell that it was a situation that happened. I was like, there was a previous version of me that would have operated this way, but in this case, I did something completely different. So, yeah, I can totally relate to that.
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that the best feeling? And when I
Oh
can
yeah.
happen for someone else, yes.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. That's the best thing ever. That is so
Yeah.
amazing. You can say, yeah, I went up against that person at work again, but it didn't really bother me. I just let it go
Yeah.
after. Oh, big win. Big win.
Right. 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 So, Laura, in your opinion, what are some effective tools or techniques for increasing self-awareness and identifying harmful thought patterns?
Notice you have to be aware, and sometimes it's hard, to be in that awareness. Awareness changes everything. Awareness changes
Mm-hmm.
how you see something, how you pull something into your body, everything. Everything. When you become aware of something, it changes your whole life. But if you can tap into that and start to notice, hey, that anxiety started when that incident happened. I wonder if that was a trigger or if that was the thing that flipped the switch for me. And can I go do something about that? Or if you're noticing that you're not getting anywhere with it and everyone is telling you, listen to what's out there and what you're being told. And if it doesn't feel okay and good,
Mm-hmm.
you need to find another way. If you are being told, like I said, that's just how it is. That's something you're going to have to learn to live with. This is not going to be fixed.
Right.
I'm not saying there aren't instances where that is
The
going to happen.
situation. Right.
Yeah, because like I said before, if you, I'm going to give a really dramatic version, but if you lost part of your leg, you're not going to
Right.
say, well, you can't hear that you're not going to walk the same now. You're absolutely going to walk the same. No, no, you're not. You're going to
Yeah.
learn to walk a little bit differently.
Correct.
But if you're having those emotional issues, if you are having difficulty in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
really, and it's like, or continuously in having difficulty in relationships, and
Right.
we know when there's something in us that's not right. We know when we overreact with something.
Yeah.
All of those people out there, if you listen even to the most extreme cases of someone with PTSD, sometimes even like way deep into some really mind-blowing difficulties, but they have a sense in themselves, I shouldn't have reacted that way.
Mm.
There's something wrong with me. Why did I react that way? And so if you hear that inside yourself, I shouldn't have reacted that way. What's going
Mm-hmm.
on? What's wrong with me? I
Yeah.
said that. What's wrong with me? Why did I do that? If you say that, then it's time to do a check-in somewhere. Get in touch
Yeah.
with someone and just say, can I talk this out with you? Because I don't know that I should have reacted that way. And it doesn't feel like I'm necessarily in control of what's going on right now. And I don't know what to do about that. Have a conversation with someone that you trust, maybe not necessarily this person closest to you. I have to say that
Right.
because sometimes that's not always the best.
That's
Our loved
true.
ones are wonderful and they love us, but sometimes they'll just be like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
But maybe you're
Or
not.
they're overly critical.
Or they're, yeah, definitely. They're fine. Oh yeah, you're all messed up. You need to go do everything. But but they sometimes you need that outside viewpoint. And
Understood.
I but find someone that can give you a fair and honest perspective of things in
Good.
what you're talking to them about. And not always for the gain of what they have to offer you. So
Mm-hmm.
even, if you come to me, I am always, because I don't like to, I'm going to be honest, I don't like to fail and I don't like to have the situation not work. So if I'm talking to you and it's like, I don't think I can help you, or this
Mm-hmm.
is not the right direction, I'm going to say that because I don't want you to just come give me money and then feel icky
Yeah.
at it, because then I'm going to
Yeah.
feel it. It's just me. I'm going to feel icky if I didn't, and honestly, I'm going to end up going, well, let's try this. Well, let's do that. And then
Mm-hmm.
extend for both of us something that could have maybe been fixed elsewhere better. So
Gotcha.
find someone you really think has integrity or that someone has recommended, and talk with them about what you're experiencing and see what the options are.
Good advice. Great advice. Thank you. Now, Laura, could you share some evidence-based practices or therapeutic approaches that you found effective in altering negative thinking and helping someone out of that trauma loop?
Yes. Well, I have to say hypnosis is the best one and the first one.
Okay.
Hypnosis is absolutely. And along with hypnosis is a thing called NLP, neuro linguistic programming. They kind of go hand in hand, but you can have one, outside of the other.
Okay.
And sometimes NLP can be incredibly effective because what it does is so say you have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is maybe you had this situation that you do remember that really, oh my gosh, the anxiety, maybe it's flying. All of a sudden, flying started. I had this anxiety. What you can do is you can go in, and NLP actually, what it does is it kind of, we have a moment that's anchored in with those feelings, with that situation. And
Okay.
so every time that situation comes up, those feelings come up. And
Mm.
so what NLP does is it kind of removes the anchor of the emotional part of that. So you still have the memory, but it's not attached to the difficult emotion.
Okay.
It clears it away and might even replace it with something that's different. Because what's interesting is fear and excitement are really close together, really
Right.
close. And you
Yeah.
kind of lean one way or the other. You lean into fear or you lean into excitement. So
True.
it's not that hard to switch something that's fear into excitement and interest, if
Hmm.
it's appropriate, obviously. But
Right.
so, but so that can be changed. NLP is a great thing to do. To boost sometimes, even I listen to subliminal recordings, which are recordings that you can listen to. I can't say while you're driving, but while you're walking, while you're doing things
Mm-hmm.
around. And you're just listening to music, but it has underlying affirmations, I guess you'd say, positive
Hmm.
affirmations. So you're constantly kind of giving your subconscious something to pick up on, to play with, to be in that line. And our subconscious loves repetition. So if we keep doing that, keep adding
Right.
that in there, it can tend to redirect things or swerve it in one way or another and kind of allow that
Mm.
to go into a new direction. And again, I'm going to bring awareness in because a great little practice, that's two little practices actually that are fun. One is try to go 24 hours without saying anything negative.
Mm. I like
Literally,
that.
I mean, try. And I did that to myself. I did it for like a week actually. And I caught myself a lot of times going into some of those things. And it's like, oh goodness, okay. And then you figure out once you figure that out, oh, I went
Mm-hmm.
negative. How do I flip that? What would I say
Mm.
that instead of that? What would I flip that to? And so it gives your mind a way of going, oh, we want to change that? Okay. And so then it goes and searches for something
Something
good,
else.
something
Ah,
good.
I like
I
it.
use color. Color is so fun as a really quick, interesting way to kind of shift things because it's a great anchor for our subconscious. And
Okay.
so what you do is you kind of bring your intention of what you want to be focusing on, and maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
communication, maybe it's um, clarity. I need clarity. Clarity is a great one. So what you do is you kind of do this little intention moment. It's like you just go, okay, I'm bringing this in. I'm activating white, and I'm going to bring intention forward to get clarity. So now your subconscious knows I'm looking for clarity. She wants clarity.
Mm.
So now you bring in that anchor that I talked about, white. You can wear white. I've used a white piece of paper. Put a white piece of paper out. Flowers are one of my favorite, white flowers. And so now every time you walk by that, your subconscious remembers, she wants clarity. And it's going
Ah.
there looking for the clarity that you want. And it's going to bring it. It's going to bring that clarity to you. So it's a great way. It's a fun way to do that
Oh,
with color.
sounds really fun. Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, because we live in such a wonderfully colorful world.
Right.
So
Well, thank you. This has been so just so informational, but I really appreciate everything that you shared with us. It's really been a great conversation, Laura. I do want to pause for another brief commercial break. And when we return, we're going to wrap up our chat and get your final thoughts. So we will be right back.
Want a chance to win exclusive You Are Not Your Trauma merch? Here's how. Leave a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform and share your thoughts with us. It helps us reach more listeners who may also be seeking healing and growth. Once you left your feedback, visit feedback.youarenotyourtrauma.com to let us know you've entered by entering your info and the word feedback in the message section. You could be a lucky winner. Now stay tuned for today's inspiring episode, and thank you for being a part of the You Are Not Your Trauma community.
Okay, we are back. Thank you so much again, Laura, for such an enlightening conversation. It was such a powerful reminder that the power to change our narrative is within us. It begins with recognizing those loops and daring to step out of them. Now, Laura, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Yeah, I if I can, I want to add one more thing to what they can do.
Sure,
Super fun
absolutely.
is because I've used this on myself a lot too, is oftentimes we get trapped in, like you talked about, why me mode and kind of getting in the situation. And what happens often too is we're looking out around us and we're seeing the people getting the
Yeah.
things that we want.
Mhm.
Well, a wonderful way to kind of switch the narrative for yourself is, if you believe in the law of attraction, or you believe in, putting your order in with the universe, however you want to think of that, prayer, however it is, you can look at that and go, "Ooh, I want that." And you know what? The universe is showing me right there what's possible. And even better, if it's someone that you know or that's close to you, that energy, that is so close to you right now. You're doing it right. You're putting in the right energy because it's really close to you. So instead of when you see someone that drives by in your favorite car and you're like, dang it, why did they get to have it and I don't? You go, oh, there's my reminder. That's amazing. It's getting closer to me. It's right there for me. Look how close it is. That's a great
There's my
way to
reminder.
switch your thoughts.
I like it. There's my reminder.
Yeah.
I like it. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much again. So for our listeners, I want to invite you to join the conversation. I encourage you to reflect on a moment when you felt stuck in a negative mindset and share how you overcame it. Use the hashtag breaking the trauma loop and be sure to tag You Are Not Your Trauma podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Your story could be just what someone else needs to hear to shift out of their own negative mindset. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, for all of you that are listening or watching, remember, in the garden of your mind, weeds of doubt can only take root if you water them. So choose to nurture the seeds of positivity instead. Now, for all of our listeners, thank you once again for tuning in to this week's episode of You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. Your presence is a vital part of this collective journey. Now, if you found today's episode helpful, please don't forget to share it with someone who can benefit from the information that Laura has shared. Also, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show. You can check out the website, www.youarenotyourtrauma.com, to leave feedback, request to be a guest on the show, subscribe to the show, get information on our show guests, or to get information about advertising on You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. You can connect with You Are Not Your Trauma podcast on Facebook and Instagram or TikTok at You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. And if you have a story to share, please email me at contact@harrietmharris.com. And also, don't forget to download the You Are Not Your Trauma app for more resources and community support. It is a fantastic tool to accompany you on your healing journey. It is available in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Now, if you need additional resources to aid in your journey of healing and self-discovery, I encourage you to download the You Are Not Your Trauma resource guide. It is available on the app or by visiting resourceguide.youarenotyourtrauma.com. Now, until next time, take care and keep moving forward. Remember, your past does not define your future. Bye-bye.